Well, Bob, this is Phil. And I listening to you about Social Security and what you had to say about Congressman Pepper.
Yes.
About the people always asking for more.
Yes.
Asking for more.
Sure.
Well, I'd like to ask for a few things, too. One of the things that I'd like to ask is to find out why we keep 40,000 troops in Korea, why we keep another 50 in Japan. What have you got against Social Security? Why haven't you got something against the energy companies, the utility companies, the munition manufacturers that are licking their chops right now with this? And it's still there. It's still kicking. It don't need us. Look at little Israel. They don't need us. They seem to be doing all right. They what do you call it? Is that all you could come up with is Social Security, Bob?
Well, we were talking about the fact that the public is the fault of this whole situation here. I said it's we, the public, who are the cause of our problems. And as an illustration, I pointed out our reaction when someone tries to save Social Security. Now, for you to say that because I want to see Social Security saved, I'm against Social Security, makes no sense at all. As a matter of fact, Phil, in all candor, nothing you said made any sense. Beyond that, it was a brilliant comment. And I thank you very much, Phil. Are you there, Phil? I knew. He answered.
It states that the president is looking to tax compensation benefits, disability, veterans' disability. And I was just thinking to myself, as you spoke to the senator, that the senator is for the president's cuts. And one of the cuts is to cut veterans' benefits. In this time when we're talking to the Russians...
What veteran are you of, Phil? You yourself, you.
World War II.
I see. And how long do you get benefits? I mean, how long does this go on?
Well, I'll tell you.
You know, I'm sick and tired of guys like you, Phil, who probably shot a rifle on a rifle range somewhere in Far Rockaway, and now in perpetuity, every time we turn around, we got to dig into our pockets to pay you some kind of cockamamie benefit.
Mr. Grant, I lost part of myself in World War II. It's not fair for you to stand there.
Well, then you're getting the benefit, right? Then you're getting a benefit.
A benefit?
Are you getting disability, Phil?
I'm not getting a benefit.
Are you getting disability?
I am getting service-connected disability.
You are getting service-connected. How much? 10%, 20%?
Quite a bit more than that.
Well, don't be vague, Phil. How much more?
That's the question I'm raising.
Ladies and gentlemen, Phil is vague. You know why Phil is vague? Because Phil is afraid to just tell the truth.
I am getting disability for a part of my extremity that's no longer with me.
Part of your what?
Extremity that's no longer with me.
Why are you again being...
Why
so cryptic? What do you mean part of an extremity? What, your foot, your arm, your hand?
Instead of listening to what I'm trying to talk about, you know, I'm not the only one out here that's disgusted with you. You know,
I didn't know you were discussing with me, Phil.
You're on the other end of the phone, and you talk to a person that served in a war, and you don't even give him a chance, and right away you're talking about firing a rifle at Far Rockaway someplace.
Yeah, Phil, I'll tell you why. Because you have called with great regularity throughout the years.
So is this your way?
And I detect a pattern of instability in your approach to everything.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Well, how about your approach in telling me about my disability that I fired a rifle? Why don't we meet someplace?
Listen, there's a guy who had a lentil bowl of soup hit him on the head. He wants me to go beat up a guy Who did that? Maybe you can come with me. We'll beat up that guy together.
You know,
Kilkey. Okay, that's the end of Phil. All right. Okay. That's the end of Phil. Let's take another call. I hope did they get it in master control in New York? Did they? I hope so. Okay.
You gotta be kidding, Bob.
Phil, I'm trying to get information from you. I don't feel like playing games. What is there you don't believe?
Huh?
What is there you don't believe?
What is it? I don't believe that there's one detective, policeman in that 110th precinct that what he goes to work and don't know what's going on around there. That's all I have to say. And this story proves it. I mean, this is...
You haven't proven a thing. You haven't proven a thing by your sketchy reportage.
I just made my phone call.
Phil, you're not a well man. You know that.
What are you coming down on me for?
Because you're not a well man. That's why.
Well, I never met a guy that was so on the way to self-destruct as you are.
I'm on my way to self-destruct. In what way? Because I tell people what is all too painfully obvious anyway? That you're not a well man?
Well, I just said the same thing about you, Bob. I don't think you're a...
Now, how could you say that? We're having a conversation right now. You called me, right? You called me, didn't you?
Of course.
Why did you call me?
Why did I call you?
Yes.
Because I have a right to call you like everybody.
I didn't ask whether you have a right. Of course you have a right. But what was your purpose?
The purpose in explaining this story that was in the...
But what did you want from me? Why tell me?
That isn't what... I mean, I just wanted to tell you what things are really like in this city. I mean, you seem to...
Oh, well, Phil, if it weren't for you, how would we know?
Well, you don't...
Where's your disability, by the way, Phil? What was your disability?
Let me tell you something.
Phil, what was your disability?
Okay.
You're the guy that called and made a grandstand play the last time that you had a disability. And when I asked you what it was, you couldn't tell me.
I don't have a disability. I just happen to have someone in my family that has a disability.
The last time you said it was you. Phil, you're hallucinating. You've just revealed to everybody listening that you're not to be believed. That you're not only are you sick, but you're a phony as well, Phil. A two-bit phony. Phil.
Okay, Professor, I would like to ask you, after the Eastern Bloc countries have reveled in freedom for a few years and being off the Russian yoke, will they start, in essence what I'm trying to say, will they start on each other's borders, as to say, like Czechoslovakia and Hungary and...
See, this guy cannot ask a question.
I can't ask the question, Mr.
You're the four-flusher who claims you go to the Holiday Inn North at the Daily Styles Affairs. You're the four-flusher who pretends you go there. If you did, you'd come over and say hello like a mensch, like a man.
Mr. Grant.
You going to be there the 23rd of March?
I'm going to be there the 23rd
Well, then stand up and be counted and come over and say hello.
I may hit you with a left hook when I see you.
Yeah. Okay, take a shot. Go ahead, take a shot. I'll deck you so fast, make your head swim.
Mr. Grant.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, the question. You ask the question. See if you can, without making a speech.
Is there, after the Eastern Bloc countries have reveled in freedom for a few years.
Oh, God, you already went through that, Phil.
That's what I want to know. I want to know, are they going to start picking on each other's borders? As if to say, well, this belongs...
Okay, we've got the question. You got the question from Windbag, didn't you? Yeah. No.
In my opinion, and I feel, and I say to myself, how could a person like yourself, such as yourself, for so many years I listened to you talk about the oil cartel and what they were doing to the American people, the way they charged us at will and nothing was ever done about it. And how could you, all of a sudden, feel that it's so necessary that young Americans, why must it always...
Oh, don't dramatize it. Don't propagandize.
Why must it be young
Don't propagandize, you anti-Israeli worm, you.
Why am I... What the hell did I say?
No, because that's what's on your mind. That's what's coming. You are so paranoid. You little weasel. You little putrid jerk. You anti-Semitic creep.
I don't know why You insist that everybody that calls up your show that doesn't have the same opinion that you have is anti-Semitic.
No, not everybody. Not everybody.
You and Al Sharpton should eat out of the same pot.
No, it's not everybody, Phil. It's
no,
you.
It's
and
you,
Al
Phil. Sharpton, you do the same thing that Al Sharpton does.
You're such a weasel. You're such a fake, phony fraud. You say you're going to show up. You say you're going to show up at the Daddy Styles dance party. My foot, you didn't show up. You don't go to places like that.
What's that got to do with this conversation?
No, what's it got to do? It proves that you're a phony. It demonstrates that you're a fake.
I'm trying to make. Why do you? Every time someone tries to make an explicit point?
No, you get on my nerves because you're so obvious. You're so obvious.
We must use
what a little nerd. Are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah, what a little nerd.
My question, why do we need 550,000 young American troops there? Why can't somebody else do this, lady? What is it about Americans that they're so expendable the way we waste them?
I suggest you move out of this country then if you don't like living.
What is me to go
if you don't like living in the world's
leader? I feel about American people.
You're getting this. You know, you're sounding like Adolf Hitler.
How about your son Jeff volunteering tonight to go there on the next plane that leaves?
Look at the way he's screaming, this guy, this maniac.
How about your son, Jeff?
What's that got to do with it?
What's
that got to do with it? What has that got to do with it? We don't have a draft. We don't have a draft, you creep. You little worm. Hey, you know what, Phil? I tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. After all these years of you getting on my nerves, make up your mind. One or two things. Why don't you come down here? Listen, you're retired now. You don't work. You don't do anything. Why don't you come down here to Manhattan some afternoon? Wait till the weather's nice. Don't come tomorrow because it's raining. It might rain on you.
Stop it. Listen,
I want you to poke me on the shoulder and say, "Hey, Fred, I'm Phil."
Because you didn't have the guts.
Say, "Hey, Fred,
and you think
I'm Phil." And then I'll punch your dumb nose. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll let you throw the first punch. I'll let you throw the first punch.
Why didn't you get it on with Mr. Jim Golden? Your former, what
has Jim Golden got to do with anything?
You? But you wouldn't, you just...
Okay, I got that. I think we, did get the dump on there? I hope we got. Phil showed his true colors. Hopefully, Phil worked himself up so that he has a stroke. And maybe we won't hear from Phil anymore. Or the next time we do hear from him, it'll be... Hey, Phil, I know you're back at your radio. Too bad you couldn't control yourself, Phil. Too bad. Too bad you couldn't continue screaming, arguing, without resorting to four-letter words. Phil, you're a lowlife skunk. I've got your number, and that's why you get upset. I would have preferred to tell you this on the telephone so you could have responded. But because of your inability to continue, I have to tell you this over your radio. Keep on listening, Phil. That's all you've got in your life is the Bob Grant program. Otherwise, it would be an empty existence. That slams the lid on things for today. I'm almost sorry our time is over. Until tomorrow, this is Bob Grant reminding you, your influence counts. Use it. Hey, Phil, drop dead. It's 6 o'clock.
Evening, Mr. Grant.
Yes, Phil.
I'm not laughing, but a gentleman called you up about 45 minutes ago and spoke to you about sending Saudi and possibly Kuwaiti troops as the first line of defense to take on the...
No, he didn't say... He didn't say...
I'm not laughing.
Hey, he didn't...
I would like to
wait
see... Wait a minute.
Stop.
This is my question, Bob.
I don't care. You're calling me, and you're gonna deal with me on my terms, not on yours.
Why don't you ever...
You're gonna deal with me on my terms, or...
Calling me...
You want me to hang up? You want me to hang up? Okay. He said Egyptian and Saudi troops. He didn't say Kuwaiti troops. Now that I've made the correction, proceed.
Okay. What would be wrong to test these guys under fire and have our young men in reserve? And possibly we wouldn't have to use our young men.
Oh, I
And
agree.
I want to ask you
Hey,
another
Phil,
question.
wait a minute. We're on the same side on this. I agree with that concept. I love it. But we'd never do it. I mean, if it were up to... Why? Because we're cagazotes. That's why.
We're not cagazoots, Bob.
Yeah, we are. We're
We're
afraid.
not.
We're
We're
afraid.
the
We're
greatest nation.
Hey, Phil, we're afraid to suggest that.
We're the greatest nation that ever was.
Well, we are.
An empire.
Get up, for heaven's sake. He's screaming and hollering like a hysterical. Get a hysterectomy, you jerk.
Okay.
It's Phil now, checking in from Old Bridge. I wonder if this is the Phil from Old Bridge. Ajita Phil. Is this Ajita Phil?
This is Phil from Old Bridge.
Yes,
Grant.
it's Ajita Phil.
Would you think I was a fake and a phony if I was to say to you that I believe there was a Holocaust, and I think it probably was the greatest tragedy in my lifetime? Would you believe me if I was to say that to you?
I don't know what your motives for saying it would be, but if you wanted to tell me that you truly believe that, I would accept it.
Well, I'm telling it to you. But I'm also going to tell you this.
I knew that. I knew it. In other words, Phil, in other words, what you're saying is, now that I've said that, I have a license to go ahead and spew a lot of anti-Semitic garbage.
No. You want to know something? Mr. Grant, why do you insist on always cutting into my little time that I have on this show by calling me anti-Semitic? I do make my point. Let me tell you something. I listen to a congressman.
Phil, scusate, I hate to do this, but it is news time. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to invite you to stay where you are, hang on the line, and if you stand by in a few minutes after the news, the traffic, I will get back to you. Oh, yeah, Phil, we switched screeners, I think. All right, we'll get that to... Phil, are you there? Phil.
Yeah, I'm here, and
okay.
I don't know, what was that guy's name that just told me that?
No, I don't know, Leon. Anyway,
Leon.
Phil, let's
okay. I want to address not only to you, but I want to address this to Leon. First of all, I think that's a pretty tough act to follow what you just said with Phil. Okay, here's what I say. I still believe that injustice is injustice. And I listened this morning to a congressman come on and speak about calling us the most racist state in the Union.
That was Assemblyman Arthur Eve, one of the biggest racists and white haters the world has ever known.
Maybe true. For all I know, you may be right. Possibly you are.
Well, his words.
But he was not prepared to answer Mr. Diamond this morning. Had I been Mr. Eve, I would have said to him when speaking about racism, I would have said, what do you think the situation was for that complex in Fresh Meadow, the Hemsley Spears complex of over 3,000 apartments? I'm making myself nervous, Bob. But what I'm trying to say is 3,000 apartments. The NAACP had to go to court to secure 100 of them for black people. How do you want to be a black person walking by that complex and knowing that you couldn't live there? That the NAACP in its country, in its city, had to go to court to get us 100 apartments. You see, Mr. Eves, or whatever his name is, he wasn't prepared to answer that question. And suppose, here's something else. This is dated July 31st, 1990. 6,000 Russians persecuted, religiously persecuted people are coming to the state of New Jersey, and they will have homes. Their children will be put in school.
Why does this anger you?
It angers me because there's so much suffering in this country. Yet, Mr. what's his name, Leon or whatever the hell it is, he could call me anti-Semitic. I don't think I'm anti-Semitic. If I believed that I was anti-Semitic, so help me God, I would find someone to help me. But I don't think I'm anti-Semitic.
Well, most anti-Semites,
justice, no matter what kind.
Most anti-Semites don't think they're anti-Semitic.
I don't know. I don't know because I'm not an anti-Semitic. And let me tell you another thing, Mr. Grant.
Hey, Phil, you know what? You probably are too stupid to realize that you are an anti-Semite.
No, I'm not stupid.
You see, your problem... I tell you what your problem is. Your problem is...
Here you go.
Your problem
Go
is...
ahead, Mr. Grant.
You're a capo.
I am?
A real capo.
How could I be a
And
capo?
you're lucky that you married an intelligent woman so that your children could take after your wife. Because if they took after you, they'd be in bad shape.
Is that all? Can I respond to that?
You may respond to that.
Mr. Grant, I think when you say things like that to me, it must really hurt you that you have nothing else to say to insult me this way.
Well, I don't have respect for you, and I'll tell you why.
You don't have respect
No, I'll
for
tell
me
you why.
because
I'll tell you why.
because you-
I'll tell you why, because you're one of those drips who said, hey, I'll see you at the Dave Styles dance party. I'll be over there. And you weren't there. You didn't come. You weren't there. You wouldn't know how to dance anyway, unless it was the minuet on your head.
Mr. Grant, something.
Yeah.
There's two things that I'm sure I could do.
Dance?
No, I could punch the living hell out of you.
Really? You want to
Yes.
try that someday, pal?
Oh, come on.
You want to try that?
Why do I want to? Why?
You know,
why would
I
wanna
tell
do
you
something
why you wouldn't mind trying that.
Oh.
Because you know that if I hit you, it wouldn't hurt your teeth because you don't have your own teeth.
My daughter.
It's
my
obvious.
daughter is right here, and she's letting go.
It's obvious that you've got false teeth. But you know, I despise phonies.
I'm partial
I
funny.
despise phonies who say, "Yeah, I was there. Yeah, I'll
I
be
was
there."
there.
But, yeah,
I
why
was
didn't you
there.
come over to the table and say hello, you scum? Why should I?
I said the next time I would come and say hello.
And you never came, huh?
No, I never came back.
Good. Who needs you?
As far as guys like Phil go, you know, Phil, your problem is you are an anti-Semite, and you won't admit it to yourself. You're like a drug addict who won't admit that he's on drugs to his family. And I think guys like you, Phil, being you love your Palestinians and your Saddam Hussein so much, should have really joined them in worshiping Allah in heaven, where Mr. Hussein is soon going to go, along with his pal Yasser Arafat, the anti-American slime, and all the other Palestinians which will be expelled from Israel by the Kahane movement of Mayor Kahane. Never again.
I was waiting for that. I recognized Leon. He could call from a cigar box, which of course is where he was calling from, and I'd still recognize him. ABC with Bob Grant. Hello.
Good afternoon, Mr. Grant. What I called you up about is, I tell you, I never thought that you'd let your program be used for Mr. Senator D'Amato to shill from you. You never asked him one hard question. And you had him there for an hour, and you let him talk.
When was he here for an hour, Phil?
Well, when he was there, it seemed to me like he was there for 2 hours. I tried to call and ask him a question.
Don't try to talk over me. When was he here last?
About a week and a half ago.
No,
it was sometime after that.
Hey, Phil, I hate to correct you.
I don't want to go into this. Can I use my time to tell you what's on my mind?
Phil, you can do whatever you like, but don't make misstatements. The guy was not on the program for an hour. He was not I haven't even seen him in ages.
Mr. Grant.
I've talked to him on the phone, but I haven't seen him in ages.
Mr. Grant, isn't this the same senator that you once accused? He backed Ron Lauder against Giuliani, and didn't you say that didn't you say at that time that the reason he backed Lauder was not because he was a conservative, because of the money that he could put into his coffers for the next campaign?
I said there were two reasons. You remembered one of them. I said there were two reasons. One, future campaign contributions and fundraising. And the other one, I'm surprised, Phil, you forgot the other reason. The other reason, which was more paramount, which was a paramount concern, he had a vendetta against Rudy Giuliani.
Absolutely. But did you tell him about this when you had him on the phone? Did you ask him?
Hey, listen, if you're gonna get hysterical, Phil, you know what I'm gonna do?
This is my way. You've been talking to me for over 20 years.
And I don't like you. You know that, Phil? I don't like you. You know that? I don't like you right now.
You don't like me right now?
You know what I think, Phil? Here's what I figured out about you.
Here we go.
Here's what I figured out.
I don't have to listen to this.
You don't. All right, get off the phone then, you little two-bit pipsqueak jerk. Here's what I figured out about Phil. Sometimes he calls, he's okay. Other times he calls, he's like he is now. I think I know the answer. Booze. When he drinks, he gets very hostile. Right now, he's been drinking, obviously. Hey, Phil, you listening to me? You're going to croak very soon, Phil, so I should be nice. No, really, Phil, you're going to croak. Your days are numbered. You're going to croak this year. I did your chart. So I should be nice to Phil the next time, because he's going to croak soon. That's the wrong side.
You really believe that, Mr.
Because
Grant?
you have a warped, prejudiced view of everything you come in contact with.
Well, thank you very, very much for letting me express my view.
You're not
you don't even let me express my view.
Your view is
that... please let me express
your view is that you're a cantankerous, bitter, crotchety gavon.
Mr. Grant.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. This guy will be back.
He'll be back. What is he? What is he? Arnold Schwarzenegger? I'll be back.
He will be back. Yeah. He will be back in court. Because, number one,
get off. I'm listening. What do you stop for? Would you look at yourself in the mirror?
I thought I was long gone, Mr.
You are long gone, but you're on the air.
Okay. No, first of all, let me put it this way. He called her Kathy 2 times. What kind of condition was he in to call her Kathy?
Why did she call him Michael?
Because she must have been in the same condition. But you know something, Mr. Grant? I just recently read about a rape trial where a woman allowed two men to have sex with her, and she wouldn't have sex with the third one. And the third one beat her up because he was offended that she,
Why are you getting hysterical sounding? You must lead an empty, bitter life. You must be a very bitter man.
Is this all you do? Is this all you live for, to try and is this all you live for, is to try and put me down?
I don't have to try and put you down. You put yourself down.
I certainly do
On
not.
those occasions that you call, you expose yourself as a
the
very
same way?
bitter man.
Why do we always end up the same way? I'm certainly not looking for an argument with you.
Well, we're not arguing.
Trying to put you down.
We're not arguing. I'm just observing what I hear from you. That's all.
Well, that's your opinion. That's your opinion. My opinion is that every time I call you, you look to You look to just to express an opinion of putting me in my place, which it gives you, I don't know, which gives you some kind of satisfaction. You don't take my call very often.
Wait a minute. Whenever you call...
I'm calling you for over 20 years.
Whenever you call, you get on.
I don't.
Oh, well, then it's the screener. Listen, there are a lot of sneaky screeners out there.
Come on, Mr.
No, I'm not joking. There are screeners. Not the guy who's on today. The guy who's on today...
Many times, Mr. Grant, where the screener...
Well, there's another screener that probably won't let you on because he thinks he's going to displease the program director if he lets you on.
And I never got to the front. Many times the screener told me that I would be next.
And you never got on.
I never made it.
Well, he never made it. He was obvious.
So what is...
What?
Listen, Mr. Grant.
Somebody calling you?
Other programs have told me that you don't let me on.
That's not true. That's not true.
Mr. Grant, other programs have told me that, that Bob Grant don't let Phil on. In fact, on on, what's his name? Stasnik, when I've taken him to the front, he told me that Bob Grant don't let me on the phone. You know?
Bob Grant doesn't let you on the phone?
That's right. The only reason you let me on the phone today is because you like my question. You know something, Mr. Grant? It's a shame. That I respect you in spite of all the things that you always say about me. I enjoy listening to you. I think...
I'm listening, Phil. I'm listening. Go ahead.
I enjoy listening to you, and I don't listen to you only because that's the only thing I have to do.
All right.
I listen to you because I feel that this is worth listening to.
Okay.
But you want to know something?
No, what?
You always come down on me, and you always come down on me in the same way. Every time you speak to me, ask anyone that's out there, you always come down on me and you try to belittle me.
I don't try to belittle you.
I'm just
reporting what I observed.
Myself?
I just report what I observed. Okay.
I'm here with a young man that doesn't even want to talk to you.
Okay, Phil, I appreciate the call. Believe it or not, I appreciate the call, and I thank you very much.
Okay, you're going to take my call next time?
Phil, you didn't believe me.
Are you going to take my call next time?
Hey, look, if Kachopoli's on the board, you probably won't get through. For some reason, he's got some hang-ups on taking certain calls. But with Mark Perman, it's the Mark Perman show today. Tomorrow it'll be the Mike Kachopoli show. I got to get the same screener each and every day. I wonder how I do that. Listen, thank you very much.
Have a nice evening.
All right, on WABC. called from Old Bridge, barely started his conversation prior to the news. And if you're still there, Phil, go right ahead.
Okay, Mr. Grant, get back to it. You know, when your 5:30 show comes to conclusion and the 9 o'clock show is ready to come on, they get together, the two vipers get together, and this morning they were discussing Schwarzenegger's penis. And I was only thinking to myself, the gentleman who is part of the early show was right into it, discussing it. I mean, as an Italian-American man, if my wife would discuss, my wife is right here, and if my wife would discuss anybody's penis in front of me, I mean, believe me, I don't think she'd ever do it, but, I mean, there'd be a lot of trouble in this house.
Well, you're from a different generation.
But anyway,
Phil,
Mr. Grant.
I mean, I'm not...
May I please finish, Mr.
Yeah,
Grant?
I'm just reminding you that you're from a different generation. You don't relate to folks...
I don't think that has anything to do with it, Mr. Grant.
Well, I think it has something to
You
do
do?
with it. Yeah,
And in other words, anybody that's born after me is a sleazeball?
Well, you could put it that way. You could
Well,
put
let
it
me
that
put it this
Hey,
way.
Phil, you could
What
put
do
it
you
that
think?
way.
What do
Phil,
you
I don't...
think
Look, I don't know why... I don't know why you get obstreperous when I remind you of a truth. You may not like it. Hey, look, Phil. Hey, Phil, I feel the same way you do. I'm just reminding you that these are people from a younger generation than yours. That's all.
Well, Mr. Grant, let me put it this way. I knew Ray Mancini pretty well, and I know his son Ray. And Ray was interviewed by that viper that comes on at 9 o'clock, and she discussed his sexual habits while he's in training. I want you to know that Ray Mancini was so embarrassed, he didn't know whether to S or go blind when that viper, who is of Italian extract. I don't understand this. And you know what I don't understand? I don't understand the male compatriot of the 9 o'clock show that refers to his own, supposedly his own kind, as a cheech and a cugine. I'd like to see some intelligent young Jewish fella refer to his kind as a kike. He would never do it.
Well, wait a minute. First of all,
a cheech?
First of all, his show goes on at 5:30. It doesn't go on at 9. It goes off at 9.
It goes off. That's what
yeah.
it says.
So what is wrong with a cheech? What is that?
A cheech?
Yeah.
A cheech to me is degrading a person of Italian.
No, that's frank. Cheech is frank. Chooch is donkey.
No. A cheech, an Italian immigrant, Mr. Grant.
Really?
An Italian immigrant.
Well,
Mr. Grant, let me give you I told you one time before that there was
you got a lot of problems, Phil. You know you really do.
I do?
You really do.
Well, thanks for keeping me on this long, because I must have started.
No, you really do. No, you really, Phil. You're incredible. You really have a lot of problems.
I do?
Yeah, you really do. You're a bitter. You're a
what
bitter
am I
man.
bitter about?
You tell me why every time you call.
You get mad at Mario Cuomo because he won't do an interview.
No, I don't get mad at Mario Cuomo.
Do.
I get mad at him because
You're very vindictive
because he's a New Deal, ultra left wing.
He does not do an interview with you. Al D'Amato does an interview with you. But what's his name? The governor.
Wait a minute. I didn't know that your call was about El Supremo. I thought your call.
No, it's about what.
Why are you changing? Phil, why are you...
Put a guilt trip on me, and you're not going to do it today, Mr. Grant.
I'm not trying to put...
Because you know something, Mr. Grant? You and Manelli are responsible for that Polish guy who claims to be half Italian. His mother comes from...
Why are you so preoccupied?
And she met some Polish guy with one eye and a patch over the other eye.
Cut it out. Listen, what are you putting down Polish people, you jerk?
No, I'm not.
Uh-huh.
No.
Yeah, it sounds like you are. You know what, Phil? Let me tell you something about you.
Good night, Mr. Grant.
Let me tell you something about you.
Mr.
You are a small, ignorant, bigoted gavon.
Possible. You are a scumbag. You will always be a scumbag. In fact, you take it up the ass. You know you do.
I don't believe you. You know, here you... Whoa. That one I had to cut. I got it. I get a kick out of you people when a guy says that, the inevitable F word, you go like you never heard it before. I got it. I swear I got it. Phil showed what he is. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the last time I will take a call from Phil of Old Bridge. That is the last time. Remember this, Mark Perman and that neophyte in back of you there, that acolyte? That guy is persona non grata. I don't ever want to take a call from that lowlife, hypocrite, louse again. I gave him the time of day. I tried to dignify him by paying attention to what he was saying and tried to entertain. You heard the conversation. I have been putting up with Phil of Oldbridge from when he was Phil of Ozone Park. And what's the matter? We didn't get it? We didn't get the F word? Oh, we got the F word. All right, so what are you talking? You know, it's very difficult for me to concentrate on what I'm saying when I see the two of you look like you're going to walk the plank going to your death. Call Chairman Murphy on the phone right now. Okay, Mr. Murphy, don't fire Susan Ronneberger and Mark Perman. They didn't do anything wrong. Okay, fine, everything's okay. It's cool. All right, you're clear. Getting back to Phil. See, he upset everybody here. Ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you, and I mean this very seriously, people who meet me quite often after the broadcast, if I'm going to dinner with some people or they meet me socially or something, they're surprised at my equanimity. They're surprised at how placid I look, how serene I seem. And they say, you know, Bob, I can't believe it. I just heard you screaming and shouting on the air and you look so calm and relaxed. Well, that's because when 7 o'clock comes and we slam the lid on things, we are slamming the lid on things. But where Phil of Oldbridge is concerned, I want to tell you, he is above and beyond the average obnoxious caller. And we have a few. Phil is loathsome, he's despicable, and Phil, above all else, you're a small hypocrite. Here you talk about the language you don't like being used by Joy Behar or the Sliwas, and yet look at the vile, filthy language you used on me. Phil, you are a total failure, a fake, and a phony. And you know something, Phil? And this is no big, brave statement on my part, because you sound like a doddering, geriatric jerk. But I'll tell you something, Phil. I would love to meet you face to face. I would love to duke it out with you. And you know something, Phil? I would gladly smash your nose right down your dumb throat. But would you do me one little favor? Sign a release saying that after I mashed you, you wouldn't sue me. Yes, scumbag! And on WABC, if anybody knows where Phil of Oldbridge lives, I'd like to find out. I'd like to pay him a little visit. Joe, you're at WABC. Hello.
Oh, that was quite a caller you had there.
Well, you know, that's it. That's the end of the line for him. I've been putting up with his hypocrisy for years and years and years.
Well, I was going to say...
You were on the phone waiting, so you heard what he said, that we had a cut.
Well, I'll tell you.
Now, here's a guy complaining that he doesn't like the language other people are using, and look at the loathsome language he used. And what kind of jerk is he? He says, if my wife said that, boy, there'd be trouble around here. What does he mean? He beat her up?
He's just the kind of a guy who is in private with his friends would talk like that.
He is, and this is a term I don't like to use, but I have to. He is the quintessential greaseball.
Well, he proved it.
Yeah.
You know, when I heard him, he proved it, and I know how he speaks when he's in private. He tries to, put on a good face. I want to get...
And that fellow, that wild man that was on before, what was his name from Oldbridge?
Phil.
Yeah, he said that anybody who was born after him is a scum. I mean, anybody younger than him?
Well,
is that the...
I don't think he's worth quoting. I don't think he's... No, really. He's totally alienated. He's a sick man. He really is.
He sounded kind of strange to me.
Yeah, he's always been so uptight, and I've never really felt too comfortable with him because he's such an absolute total bigoted person. The consummate anti-Semite. I mean, and look at the crack he made about Polish people. I mean, this guy is just a total bigot.
He's strange.
And worst of all, he's dumb. That's his worst sin. He's dumb. Thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you. Oh, what did I say about whatever
you said he's standing in the way of what I don't know, but you said he's standing...
No, I said he's standing up against...
against what? What is he standing against? Common sense? Decency?
I said standing up for morality against the insane, what I call social sexual engineers.
Well, the social sexual engineers are on the other side.
That's what I said.
Oh, that's what you say. Hey, you know what, Larry? Why don't you go out to Old Bridge and say hello to Phil? I think the two of you would get along real well.
Oh, wait a minute, Mr. Grant. Why all this?
Hey, look, I don't like you. I don't like you one single bit. I don't like that. I don't like that comment about they should be shot or mutilated. It makes no sense. You're not making any sense, you jerk.
Will you let me talk?
John, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hi, Bob. Bob, that call with Phil yesterday gets added to my classic Bob Grant tapes. Now, David Dinkins. Bob, David Dinkins, the man who gets panned.
Hey, Mr. Grant. Very touching talking to your mother. Mr. Grant, whatever happened to that hoax that was perpetrated by those people that claimed that their children were painted with white shoe polish while they were going or coming from school?
Good question, Phil.
You know, whatever happened, do people understand how many hours was spent by the police? Hundreds of hours that was spent, and all the rhetoric that was going on, and how close it came up in the Bronx to having a riot up there. And we haven't heard anything about that, have we, Mr. Grant?
No, we haven't. I tell
why?
you, it went the same way the Tawana Banana folks went.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Mr. Grant. And you know what made me sick, Mr. Grant? Another thing.
What's that?
When that fella called you up and he had tears in his eyes that he was going home from work, coming to New Jersey, and he was in a Port Authority. He was a man, wasn't he? Wasn't he a man? Couldn't he have taken care of himself? That he was crying to you, and you more or less you sympathized with him. Let me tell you something, Mr. Grant. I took my son to the airport. He went to England.
Yeah.
And Friday, he was in Foley Square, and he was coming home on a Port Authority.
Yeah.
And a couple of those...
Make it quick, Phil. We got about 20 seconds.
A couple of those animals walked up to the bus, and there was a line waiting to get on a bus, and they just walked up there, and my son happens to be 6'4".
Oh, we're going to run out of time, Phil.
Well, I'm sorry that it's going to end this way, but you want to know something very quickly, Mr. Grant? When my son told those kids that they weren't getting on that bus, do you know that all the white guys, they all cringed and went the other way? There wasn't one person that stood with them in that situation.
All right. Thank you, Phil.
Mr. Grant,
I
did you
don't
ever hear
believe
of a guy by the name of Arthur Fletcher?
Yes, Arthur Fletcher, really, as head of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights.
Did you ever? Do you believe
the man is an absolute moron? An absolute moron. What he ought to do is get a gun or call Dr. Kevorkian, because he probably loathes himself because he's white, and he obviously is one of these self-hating whites.
Listen to this, Mr. Grant. Do you believe that this country went for this? This man claims that his wife committed suicide. She jumped off the Bay Bridge because she believed that her husband had been blackballed in this country because he was a black man that had served in the Army, had gotten a college education, and because he helped with the Brown versus
Topeka, Kansas School Board of May 19th, 1954.
Can anyone tell me that they could believe garbage like this, especially our elected officials, to give this man this job? This man is a hateful, disgusting, racist, a top racist of any black person, and he's sneaking through the cracks, in my opinion. And I thank you very much for taking my call.
All right.
Hello, Phil. You're on WABC. Hello.
Good afternoon, Mr. Grant. Mr. Grant, don't you know that the guy that just called, Jake, is a faggot? I mean, can't you just tell by the sound of his voice?
No,
Let me get on to what I want to talk about.
I really didn't pick that up, Phil.
Well, listen to it next time, and you'll catch that ladylike voice.
Well, the guy would sound politically, I don't care if he had a ladylike voice or a manlike voice, or he sounded like a fafufnik. He was making sense, but go ahead.
Well, Mr. Grant, let me tell you about the greatest perpetration of a biased crime that was ever seen. Minutes. Some black guy with dreadlocks walked through Beverly Hills, and he walked through Beverly Hills a couple of times a week, and the police stopped him, and they would take him out of Beverly Hills. They would ask him if he was there to see someone, if he knew anyone there. Finally, they took him out of there one night, and he had an attorney. And the case was settled out of court for $3 million because we took this guy that came from Jamaica or Bermuda, and we denied him his civil rights, walking through Beverly Hills at 3 o'clock in the morning. Had no business being there, didn't know what he was doing there, but he got $3 million for walking through Beverly Hills, which takes me to you. Now, you refer to the mayor as the attendant from 21. We had some guy by the name of Carmichael in the 60s, and we had a president that passed the greatest civil rights laws since the beginning of time. And he referred constantly to that president as a buffoon. Do you remember the guy I'm talking about? I don't remember. He had one of those stupid first names, but his last name was Carmichael. Hello?
What's the difference? What is the difference, Phil? What is the difference?
The difference is this. Why can't you refer to, why did they stop you referring to this imbecile, this mayor, this supposed mayor who can't take the heat, could only take the good, but can't take the bad? I mean, has got 90% of all the white people in this city, in the city of New York, wishing he would go away, but he's solid with the black. I mean, the blacks are what he calls, they'll stand by him no matter what he does. They could, what he called, Dinkins could practically steal their eyeballs out, and they won't turn away from him. They'll vote for him 100%. Why? Because he's black like they are. And I'm simply saying this, Mr. Grant. There's no reason in the world why you, with your personal opinion, cannot refer to him as the attendant from the men's room attendant at 21. Can I hear you say that just once, Bob?
Well, I did refer to him at one time as the men's room attendant.
I want
at
you
21.
to refer to him right now.
I did. I just said it. Didn't
Okay.
I? Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Grant.
I told you that that's the way I referred to him. It became such a burning issue with this company. It transcended everything else. It was such a big thing that I don't say it anymore. But that's got nothing to do with you. If it makes you feel good to refer to him in that term.
No. It makes me sad that I don't hear you say it. Because I think you have every right to say it. And I don't think...
Yeah, well, listen...
And if you could call Mario a Swachim, and I agree with you most heartily, you have every right to refer to him as the attendant.
You see, I didn't have these problems when Eddie Koch, before he turned huckster, when Eddie Koch was the mayor, I didn't have any problems. When the almost mayor, little Abe Beam, who might be under this council, wait, let me look. No, he's not here. I certainly gave it to him. And the Tower of Jelly, John Lindsay.
I remember that, too.
And a few choice names I had for Wagner, but by the time I got here, Wagner was no longer the mayor. But, see, those guys, they didn't have that protective coating.
Absolutely.
They didn't have the right complexion.
And very quickly, Mr. Grant, I just want to add this, that it steams me up. When I hear a guy that comes from Jamaica or the Dominican Republic, I could sympathize with a black man that was born here, and he may have an opinion that he's not getting a break. I don't agree with him, but I think he's got a legitimate reason to complain. After all, he was born here.
Well, if you're an American, you have a right to complain.
Listen to me. When I get these guys that come from Jamaica or Bermuda or the Dominican Republic, and they talk about the bad deal they get in this country, what the hell are they doing in your country?
At WABC, we're forging ahead. Phil from Old Bridge. Hello, Phil.
Good evening, Mr. Grant.
All right.
The testimony.
Okay,
live
Phil.
Testimony. Oh, incidentally, Bob, one last thing.
Yeah.
I was at the Rio Diner today, and I had lunch there, and I sat at the counter. And to my amazement, it's the first time I ever stopped there. Scrambled eggs and home fries cost $3.50, and I left the girl a tip, which is $4.50. I think that's kind of high for scrambled eggs.
WABC, you might know that You might know that this guy, Phil of Old Bridge, would never be satisfied about anything, anytime, anywhere. He's just that kind of a oddball who claimed he used to go to a dance held on Friday night, which he never went to. Strange. I've been taking calls from Phil for many, many years. At times, I put him in the persona non grata category, then he comes out. But he's just a weirdo, lowlife, and he'll call again, but he'll take a vacation from calling, which, hey, that's the first good news I've had in quite a while.
I want to mention, Bob, the subject of former callers who are now persona non grata came up last week, I think it was, and you named a few of the people who had achieved that status.
Yeah.
I don't know if you intended that list to be complete, but there's one individual who identifies himself as Clifford from Newark.
Oh, yeah, he's persona non grata.
You didn't mention.
Yeah. Well, I forgot to mention him. That's how unimportant he is, but he's persona non grata.
Yeah, I know.
Phil of Old Bridge.
I sort of miss Phil from Old Bridge because I used to enjoy his calls would start out okay, and I knew that sooner or later he'd make a fool of himself, and it was just a question of when, and most of the time he did.
But a guy like Phil of Old Bridge is such a total jerk, such a complete fraud. Not just that he's an anti-Semite, which of course he is. He's one of the worst anti-Semites I've ever talked to. But that he's just totally obnoxious. So I don't think he'll ever get off the persona non grata list.
Well, maybe not.
You and your family.
Yes, thank you.
And to get to what I wanted to talk about. First of all, this was just a passing thought. It isn't really what I want to talk about. It's about, what the guy was talking about, Rob Roy. God, that was done 25 years ago in a movie called Fun with Dick and Jane with George Siegel and Jane Fonda, where she's sitting on a bowl wiping herself after Europe, doing whatever the hell she had to do. If you would think back, and probably you remember the movie.
I did not see the movie.
Well,
I can't stand George Siegel. I cannot stand him.
George Siegel is a hell of an actor, but Jane Fonda, I mean, give me a break. Well, anyway.
Well, Jane Fonda happens to be, as much as I don't like her politics, happens to be an excellent actress.
I feel the same way, Bob, but
anyway, what was it?
70s.
Yeah, what was it you called?
Bob, that was during the 70s when the Vietnam War was on, and I really, I really hated the bitch. But anyway, that's besides the point. What I really wanted to talk to you about is this congressman from California threw his hat into the ring.
Yes.
And what he announced this morning, think it is, Bob. Here's a guy. First thing he says, now, I mean, this really knocks me for a loop. I mean, I really like the guy. And the first thing he says is, I am going to have a Jewish American or a black to run as my vice president. Was that necessary, Bob? I mean, this guy, to me...
Dornan said that?
Dornan. He's a real...
Wait a minute. Dornan said that?
Right. And to me, he just showed...
It's funny, I did not read that in any of the...
He said it, Bob, would I...
I'm not... Phil, take it easy, will you?
Yeah?
I did not say you were lying. I did not say you were making it up. All I said was, I did not read that. That was all I said.
You want to know something, Bob? Much as I hate Willie, I'll take Willie before I take that scumbag to have to make the remark to run for the presidency that he will have either a Jew, an American Jew, or a black American.
You heard
Bob,
him say that?
You know something? The guy is a gas. He's no goddamn good. Excuse me.
Well, that lets you out with that vile talk. Phil is a very emotional guy, and he took a long hiatus from calling the show. I think he's ready for another one. I knew it wouldn't last long. He called for the first time in ages about 3 weeks ago, and he said, well, I didn't call because I was mad at you. And he said, but I got over being mad. I did some soul searching, and I think I was being childish, whatever it was he said. But there he is again, back in vintage Phil form. Hey, Phil, I think you ought to take a permanent What would we call it? A permanent hiatus? I think so, Phil. You just rubbed me the wrong way. I'm sorry, Phil, but you do.
Running around the track. I think that'd be rather interesting. Who would you bet on, Bob?
Well, you know, the warden said that people have come from all over the world to view this. Why the fascination?
Because of the melanin.
You think
what do you think? I mean, Bob, if they were a white guy, do you think that anyone would give a damn? Absolutely not. It's because they've seen it on TV, and the whole world takes pity on the fact that America is such an awful place. Well, as far as I'm concerned, there are a lot of things about America that's bad, but people in shackles, that's not bad. That's good. And Bob, thanks for the time.
Okay, Phil. Philip Oldbridge on the line on WABC. A big nerd who writes in the Daily News took me to task because Phil of Oldbridge, who is a bigot, Phil of Oldbridge, who is a very angry old man, called me the other day and seemed to have trouble thinking of the name Connie Chung. And because Phil is an old man who grew up in a time when this type of bigotry was just commonplace and not even thought of as bigotry, referred to her as slant eyes. I didn't like it, but I didn't say anything about it either. He takes me to task for not saying anything about it. These guys are just looking for anything and everything to try to put us down. I say us because I'm not the only one. But why? Because they're jealous. That's why. Because in their sanctimonious arrogance, they thought we were inconsequential. And now they see that we're not inconsequential, that no less a person than the guy who has the number one job in the country, the number one office in the land, is attacking us, campaigning against us, and they're jealous. That's all. That's simple.